The sun had been merciless all day, a molten disk burning through the endless stretch of golden sand. The traveler's throat felt dry, his breath heavy with dust. The engine of his jeep had coughed its last breath hours ago, leaving him stranded in the middle of nowhere. He had walked for what felt like eternity, guided only by the wavering horizon and the faint hope of finding life in a land that had long forgotten what water tasted like. Every step sank deep into the dunes, every gust of wind whispered the same warning: no one comes back from this desert. When he finally saw the smoke rising in the distance, his heart leaped with a strength he didn't know was left in him. It wasn't much, just a thin column twisting lazily into the sky, but it meant fire, it meant someone was there. His legs carried him faster, his body trembling between exhaustion and relief. By the time he reached the small hut, his vision was already blurring. The structure looked ancient, made of cracked clay and weather-worn wood. Outside, a single lantern swung gently from a hook, its faint light fighting against the dusk. He knocked softly. For a moment, there was silence, only the whistle of wind through dry reeds. Then, the door creaked open, revealing a man whose presence felt as old as the desert itself. His beard was silver, his eyes a deep brown that carried both peace and sadness. He looked at the traveler for a long moment before stepping aside. "Come in," he said, his voice calm, the kind that made the air slow down inside. The hut was dimly lit. A clay pot sat in the corner, half full of water. The traveler reached for it, his hands shaking, and the old man simply nodded. The first sip burned his throat, the second brought tears to his eyes. The old man watched him quietly, a faint smile on his lips, like someone who understood too well the meaning of thirst. "You shouldn't be out here," the old man said after a while. "The desert takes more than it gives." "I didn't plan to be," the traveler replied, his voice raw. "My jeep broke down." The old man nodded, stirring the pot by the fire. "It breaks everything, out here. Machines. Men. Promises." The traveler glanced around. The walls were lined with sand-colored cloth, a few old pots, and a single wooden chair. It was the home of someone who had long stopped expecting visitors. "You live here alone?" he asked. The old man's gaze dropped to the fire. "For many years. The desert and I, we keep each other company." There was something in his tone, something quiet but heavy. The traveler felt it too, the kind of silence that hides pain too old for words. Outside, the wind rose, swirling sand against the window slats. The flames flickered and stretched, throwing shadows across the walls like waves in the dark. "Why here?" the traveler finally asked. "There's nothing." The old man looked at him then, and for the first time, his eyes seemed to glimmer with something deeper. "Because nothing doesn't hurt. People do." The words hung in the air like smoke. The traveler said nothing. He knew that kind of escape. Maybe that's why the old man didn't ask him where he came from or why he was traveling alone. Some questions are too close to the bone. When night fell, the old man spread a blanket on the floor. "You can rest here. The desert is quiet tonight." The traveler lay down, the rough fabric scratching his skin, and listened to the crackle of fire, the sighing of the wind. Somewhere beyond the walls, a night bird cried out, its echo swallowed by the dunes. The old man moved slowly, sitting near the door, his silhouette framed by the dying light. The traveler closed his eyes, but sleep didn't come. The desert felt alive, its silence, its weight, its secrets pressing close. And in the midst of that silence, he couldn't shake the feeling that he hadn't stumbled into that hut by accident. It was as if the desert had led him there, to that man, to that night, where thirst meant more than water. The night deepened slowly, the fire shrinking to a dull orange glow. The wind outside hummed through cracks in the clay walls, carrying whispers from the dunes. The traveler sat near the fire, rubbing his hands together, trying to shake off the chill that had crept into his bones. The old man poured him a little more water, careful, like it was sacred. Their eyes met briefly, two strangers, bound not by words but by silence. For a long time, neither spoke. The desert didn't need conversation. Then, the old man broke the quiet. "It's strange," he said softly, "how silence can get so loud when you have no one left to talk to." His eyes stayed on the fire, watching it dance. "Out here, the wind becomes your only companion. It reminds you that you still exist, even when you don't want to." The traveler studied his face, the deep lines, the weathered skin, the faint tremor in his hands. There was something tragic about him, like a man who had made peace with sorrow only because he'd lived with it too long. "You've been here a long time?" the traveler asked. "Long enough to forget how many seasons have passed," the old man replied. He looked up, and his eyes held a quiet ache. "I came here because the world outside refused to understand what I was. Who I loved. The traveler felt something stir in his chest, a quiet recognition. You left because of love? I left because of shame, the old man said, his voice low but steady. Because in the village, they saw my heart as a sin. I loved a man once, a kind soul, gentle like rain. But when the truth came out, they turned on us. He was taken. I ran. His fingers tightened around the clay cup. I've been running ever since. The traveler looked at him, unsure what to say. The air between them felt heavier now, full of unspoken things. He understood too well the pain of hiding who you are, the ache of being unseen. You must have missed him, he murmured. The old man smiled faintly. Missed him? Every sunset feels like his voice fading away. Every dawn feels like his eyes I'll never see again. He paused, then turned toward the traveler. And you? You carry the look of someone who's lost too. The traveler swallowed hard. Maybe I am, he admitted. I trusted someone, thought it was love. But love turned into lies. I wanted to forget, so I drove. I didn't know where I was going, until the desert stopped me. The old man nodded. The desert stops everyone. It strips you down to what's real. The fire cracked softly, throwing shadows across their faces. For a while, they said nothing, just sat there, two broken souls, their pain mirrored in each other's silence. Then, the old man reached out, his hand resting lightly on the traveler's wrist. The touch was gentle, trembling, almost afraid. The traveler didn't pull away. In that stillness, something wordless passed between them, not lust, not pity, but a strange understanding born of loneliness too deep to name. The old man's eyes searched his, not asking for forgiveness or permission, only acknowledgement. The traveler's heart pounded. He didn't know what this moment meant, or where it was leading, only that it felt human, real, fragile, and heavy with need. He looked into those tired eyes and saw not desire, but a quiet plea for connection, for warmth after years of cold. The night grew quieter. The fire dimmed until only the faint glow of embers lit their faces. Outside, the desert wind had calmed, as if holding its breath. The old man whispered, sometimes, the heart remembers thirst long after the body forgets. The traveler didn't reply. Words felt useless. The silence between them spoke louder, of longing, loss, and the strange mercy of finding someone in the middle of nowhere who understands the same kind of emptiness. The candle flickered once, then died. The hut was left in darkness, and only the slow rhythm of breathing filled the space, one weary, one young, both waiting for morning, or perhaps something deeper, to come with the light. The first light of dawn seeped through the cracks in the clay walls, painting the hut in soft gold. The desert outside shimmered like molten sand, stretching endlessly in every direction. The traveler stirred, blinking against the brightness, and found the old man already awake, sitting quietly by the door, staring at the horizon. There was a stillness about him, a calm that seemed earned through decades of solitude. The traveler rose slowly, his body stiff from the night, and moved to the small water pot. He drank, savoring the cold liquid, feeling it revive him in ways more than just physical. The old man watched, saying nothing. The silence between them no longer felt heavy but contemplative, like a fragile bond that neither needed to name. Finally, the traveler spoke. I should go, he said, though the words felt hollow. He didn't want to leave, and yet the desert demanded movement, as if it was never meant to hold anyone for long. The old man nodded, his gaze still fixed on the horizon. You must, he said softly. The dunes do not forgive those who linger. But take this, he added, reaching for a small clay pendant, worn and chipped at the edges. It belonged to someone I lost. Keep it, so you remember that the desert never forgets those who shared its silence. The traveler took it, feeling its weight in his palm. He didn't speak, not sure what words could honor the moment. The pendant was more than clay, it was memory, longing, and the quiet acceptance of what had passed in the dark of the night. He stepped outside, the sand cool beneath his feet in the early morning. The wind had settled, leaving only the soft hum of the desert, the distant cry of a lone bird, and the whisper of his own thoughts. He looked back once. The hut was bathed in sunlight, shadows stretching long and fragile across its walls. For a moment, it seemed to him like a memory ready to dissolve, tangible, yet untouchable. Walking away, he felt the echo of last night press against him, a mixture of warmth and sorrow that he couldn't untangle. It was not love in the ordinary sense, nor regret entirely. It was the recognition of a human connection forged in the quiet extremity of isolation. The old man had given him more than shelter, he had given him a mirror for his own hidden thirst, a reflection of the pain and yearning he had carried alone. The dunes stretched endlessly ahead, and as he walked, each step sank into the sand like a signature in time. He clutched the pendant lightly, its rough edges pressing into his palm, and whispered a silent acknowledgement to the man he left behind. Somewhere in the vast desert, two lives had touched briefly, impossibly, and yet the memory of it would linger longer than the sun on the horizon. The desert swallowed his footprints, leaving no trace, but the traveler carried the night with him, the quiet confession, the brush of hands, the shared silence. In the endless sands, thirst took many forms. Some were never quenched, some never forgotten, and some, like theirs, left behind only the faint, indelible echo of what had been.